South Korean officials are heading back to the U.S. for another round of tariff negotiations with the U.S. to resolve remaining issues and strike a deal that serves the national interest, just in time for the APEC leaders meeting next week. And ahead of the APEC meeting, North Korea launched its first ballistic missiles in 5 months on Wednesday morning, seen as its latest attempt to get to U.S. recognition of it as a nuclear-armed state. South Korea's intel agency has identified the key suspect in the death of a South Korean college student in Cambodia, the victim of a job scam, as an accomplice in a major drug case in central Seoul in 2023. One more round of tariff talks between Seoul and Washington is taking place to finalize South Korea's $350 billion investment in the U.S., now preferably on the occasion of the upcoming APEC leaders meeting. Our Kim Bo-kyung leads us tonight.
Presidential Chief of Staff for Policy Kim Yong-bum and Industry Minister Kim Jong-kwan departed for Washington, D.C. on Wednesday once again for tariff negotiations with the U.S. It has only been a few days since the two officials returned from earlier trips to D.C., during which they talked to U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to finalize the details of the $350 billion investment package. Before heading out to the U.S., they told reporters they were going there to discuss one or two remaining issues.
It looks like we'll be tense until the very end. We'll do our best to make sure our national interests are protected until the last moment.
When it comes to the possibility of reaching the agreement by the upcoming summit between Presidents Lee and Trump that will be held in line with the APEC leaders meeting, the Presidential Chief of Staff for Policy said the government is not considering signing an MOU based only on a partial agreement while leaving key issues unresolved just because of the event. If the trade agreement does get reached, other results that were made during the previous summit between the two leaders would also be able to be announced, as they could not be unveiled due to unresolved parts related to trade at that time.
If the trade MOU and related issues are finalized, the trade results will be announced too. I also expect that many of the key achievements tentatively agreed at the Washington summit can be made public together.
He added that security and other issues are being coordinated by National Security Advisor Ri Sung-rak at the National Security Office. Meanwhile, the impact of U.S. tariffs is starting to show in Korea Customs Service data, with exports to the U.S. for the first 20 days of October plunging 24.7% compared to the previous year. Even considering there were 2 less working days during this period, exports to the U.S. were still down more than 10%. Total exports to all countries from October 1st to 20th totaled $30.15 billion, down 7.8% from the same period last year, largely due to that fall in exports to the U.S. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
In the meantime, U.S. President Donald Trump continues to show optimism and confidence on what he calls a fair trade deal with China on the sidelines of APEC, referring to trade negotiations with South Korea, Japan, and the European Union. Lee Sung-jae reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump has expressed optimism about upcoming trade negotiations with China, saying he expects to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea soon to discuss a wide range of issues. Speaking at a White House luncheon on Monday, President Trump said he believes the two countries will do well in the talks. The remarks come as President Trump moves to impose an additional 100% tariff on Chinese goods starting November 1st. If implemented, the overall tariffs that China must pay on exports to the United States could climb as high as 157%. The measure follows Beijing's decision to tighten export controls on rare earth materials, which Washington sees as a strategic challenge to global supply chains. Despite the rising trade tensions, Trump emphasized that he maintains a good personal relationship with President Xi and expects to reach what he described as a fair deal. He said he hopes both sides can benefit, but stressed that any deal must be fair. The U.S. leader added that a meeting with President Xi would be very successful, noting that global attention is focused on the upcoming talks. Still, Trump acknowledged that there remains a chance that the meeting might not happen, saying that if someone were to call it off, it would not be due to hostility, but rather part of the business process. Meanwhile, Trump also highlighted what he views as the broader success of his tariff policies, saying Washington has done well in trade negotiations with South Korea, Japan, and the European Union. He argued that the use of tariffs has strengthened America's negotiating position, helped reduce trade deficits, drawn in new foreign investments, and boosted domestic manufacturing. Pundits say Washington is aiming to use this combination of high tariffs and direct diplomacy to pressure Beijing into concessions, while reassuring allies that Washington remains committed to fair and reciprocal trade. 이승재, Arirang News.
Japan's new Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi says she would like to meet with President Jae Myung and continue developing future-oriented ties. This came on Tuesday as she held her first press conference upon taking office.
I would like to see Japan and South Korea develop a future-oriented and stable relationship. I hope to hold talks with the president. I love Korean food. I use Korean cosmetics. I watch Korean dramas. And should a chance to meet the president arise in future, I will gladly take it.
She also underscored trilateral cooperation with Seoul and Washington in responding to North Korea, while voicing expectations ahead of the APEC leaders meeting in Gyeongju next week, which would be her first major multilateral stage. Takaichi further expressed appreciation for Korean culture. The message contrasts sharply with her past hardline stance on historical and territorial disputes and her controversial visit to the Yasukuni Shrine honoring Japan's Class A war criminals. Now, at home, she has vowed swift measures against inflation and appointed several conservative figures to her first cabinet. North Korea resumed its missile provocations on Wednesday morning by launching a series of short-range ballistic missiles. For the first time in nearly half a year, our Kim Do-yeon has the details.
North Korea fired short-range ballistic missiles at around 8:10 a.m. on Wednesday, its first launch of this kind in more than 5 months. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the missiles were launched from the regime's Hwanghae-bukdo province just south of Pyongyang and traveled approximately 350 kilometers northeast. According to local reports, the missiles are believed to have fallen on land rather than in the sea. This marks North Korea's first ballistic missile provocation since President Jae Myung took office in early June. The JCS said it has shared intelligence on the launch with the US and Japan, and that Seoul's military is maintaining a full readiness posture. The presidential office also stated that the National Security Council held an emergency military readiness review to assess the launch's impact. It added that the government will closely monitor the North for additional launches and review necessary measures. The provocation comes ahead of the APEC leaders meeting in South Korea next week, which U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are scheduled to attend. Experts say the launch was a message of pressure aimed at the U.S.
When the North Korea issue is discussed during the APEC period, Pyongyang's message is that the denuclearization issue is absolutely impossible. This also contains a message of pressure toward the U.S., telling America to come forward while remembering demands for the suspension of ROK U.S. military drills and the recognition of its nuclear status.
The launch also comes 12 days after a military parade in Pyongyang to mark the 80th anniversary of the Workers' Party, where it showed off its arsenal, including its latest ICBM, which experts say can be tested soon as well. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Amid ongoing security threats posed by North Korea's weapons of mass destruction and the regime's cooperation with Russia, NATO's deputy chief this week attended South Korea's massive air defense exhibition and met with key security officials. She also sat down with Arirang News for this exclusive interview. Here's our Oh Soo-young with more.
Your Excellency, Deputy Secretary General of NATO, Radmila Shekerinska, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good evening. Nice to be here.
We're living at a time when the United States is calling on its allies to step up invest more in defence and pay more for their own security. How does a partnership with South Korea contribute to that effort for NATO?
You're absolutely right. There were strong calls from various sides within the alliance that we need to spend more on our defense, because in the present changed global security environment, we need to invest more. We have seen a more aggressive Russia. We have seen the threat that Russia poses to almost all of their neighbors. And it was very important that NATO keeps the technological edge, keeps the military advantages that we have always had, and for this we need to invest more. We won't change the defense spending overnight, but some of the allies have actually moved to almost 5% even as we speak. And this shows a clear sense of leadership and purpose. We are also investing a lot in our innovation, because spending this money has to come up in parallel with more research and development, more innovation, and adding this innovation into defense and military capabilities. And this is also an area in which we do cooperate with our partners, and we value very much the cooperation that we had with the Republic of Korea. We cooperate in issues such as space, cyber. We cooperate on the usage of artificial intelligence in defense. All these issues contribute to countries being able to spend more, but also being competent and ready to spend better and smarter.
North Korea showcased new intercontinental ballistic missiles equipped with solid fuel engines along with hypersonics last week at this massive military parade that they had. And interestingly, it was attended by Russia's Security Council Deputy President. And what kind of growing threats do the allies face when it comes to Moscow and Pyongyang's military and technological cooperation?
The security of the Euro-Atlantic influences the security in the Indo-Pacific and vice versa. But we have seen these theaters even more interconnected after the Russian war against Ukraine. Seeing North Korean troops present there and fighting on behalf of Russia was, I think, a very clear signal to a much, much deeper and stronger military cooperation between Russia and DPRK. What was visible on the battlefield became visible also in other fields. So it was clear that North Korea is profiting from experience in warfighting, lessons in strategy in this new, let's say, warfare, but also from technology transfer. And this practically deeper military cooperation is a source of concern on both sides, in the Euro-Atlantic, but also in the Indo-Pacific. And this is why the security is now very rarely seen just in regional context, but much more globally. But this is also one of the reasons due to which our cooperation with the partners in the Indo-Pacific is crucial, is necessary, and it's beneficial for both.
North Korea is definitely profiting from Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. But at the same time, though, North Korean regime leader Kim Jong-un has pretty much signaled that he's ready to talk with US President Donald Trump. From a Euro-Atlantic perspective, what kind of progress do you hope to see if this high-profile meeting happens?
Well, have no doubts. NATO, in essence, is a defensive alliance. So we have always supported efforts to reach peace agreements, and we have been very supportive to a dialogue on difficult issues. We have supported US President Trump's efforts to broker a peace agreement, or initially a ceasefire, between Russia and Ukraine, and we have continued our support to Ukraine throughout this period so that Ukraine can negotiate from a position of strength. And this is why we believe that it is our duty to help Ukraine in this fight, but our goal is to help Ukraine get to the negotiating table and ensure a sustainable, lasting peace. So this is our policy when it comes to all conflicts. This is our policy when it comes to issues of global security.
Your trip to the Republic of Korea falls upon Seoul's annual Aerospace and Defence Exhibition ADEX 2025. What's been most interesting for you so far, and what do you hope to gain from your visit?
Actually, I was really impressed by not only the potential of the Korean defense industry, but also by the strong links that they have with a number of NATO allies and companies within NATO countries. So it's not something that has never existed. It is something that is ongoing, and I think that there is satisfaction on both sides. But as we said at the meetings with ministers and Korean colleagues, we can always do better, and we can really increase this cooperation for the benefits of both Korea but also NATO.
Thank you very much for your time today and for making time for Arirang, Madam Deputy Secretary General.
Thank you, and I really appreciate your interest.
South Korea's National Intelligence Service has uncovered a link between a Korean student's murder in Cambodia and a 2023 Gangnam drug scandal. Our Park Junan has the latest.
The National Intelligence Service confirmed on Wednesday that the main suspect in the brutal killing of a South Korean university student in Cambodia was an accomplice of the mastermind behind the 2023 Gangnam drug drink scandal, where South Korean minors were targeted with a so-called drug drink made by mixing methamphetamine with milk. Regarding organized crime, the intelligence agency also dispatched a rapid response team to Cambodia earlier this month under the directive of President Jae Myung, who ordered the agency to eradicate the scam network completely, no matter what it takes. The agency also estimates that between 1,000 and 2,000 South Koreans are involved in romance scam crimes occurring in Cambodia. On the same day, an on-site government audit was held at the Korean embassy in Cambodia. The embassy reported to the National Assembly Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee that around 100 abduction and confinement cases remain unresolved out of 550 reported over the past 2 years. While 450 victims were rescued or released, cases surged from less than 20 in 2023 to 220 in 2024 and 330 by August 2025. Lawmakers from South Korea criticized the embassy's response to the abduction and confinement crimes targeting Koreans and urged a thorough response. On the judicial side, a Seoul court found 3 South Koreans guilty of luring a friend to a Cambodian voice phishing group. The main suspect received a 10-year prison term for orchestrating the victim's 20-day captivity, during which his bank account was exploited for fraud. 2 accomplices were sentenced to 5 years and 3.5 years, respectively. The victim, deceived by their false promises, was rescued by South Korean embassy staff in Cambodia. The South Korean authorities are sparing no effort in a crackdown on these transnational crimes, as they are actively collaborating with the Cambodian police and international agencies to rescue victims and dismantle their criminal networks. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
Seoul is hosting its annual Semiconductor exhibition, offering a comprehensive look at chip technology at the very core of the AI era. Our Moon Ji-young was there with this report.
In the midst of a paradigm shift driven by AI, the future competitiveness of the semiconductor ecosystem is becoming increasingly crucial. Against this backdrop, marking its 27th anniversary, the Semiconductor exhibition commenced in Seoul on Wednesday, showcasing the entire spectrum of the semiconductor industry's supply chain. In the AI era, with semiconductor technology at the core, this year's event highlights a seamless integration of Korea's semiconductor ecosystem, design, manufacturing, and post-processing. Samsung Electronics unveiled a physical HBM4, a 6th-generation high-bandwidth memory chip. The company has not only completed development of its 12-layer HBM4, but is also actively accelerating preparations for mass production. Furthermore, Samsung showcased its broad portfolio, ranging from the 7th generation GDDR7 graphics DRAM, currently supplied in large volumes to NVIDIA, to advanced system semiconductors and foundry services. Meanwhile, another industry leader, SK Hynix, prominently positioned its HBM4 exhibition at the booth center. Notably, the company had already supplied HBM4 samples to key customers such as NVIDIA as early as March, outpacing its competitors. It also introduced innovative memory module solutions specifically optimized for data centers and AI servers, alongside advanced storage solutions tailored for AI data centers and cloud infrastructure. Beyond these industry giants, Family's firms showcase their latest innovations, including intellectual property technology, logic processing units, and vehicle-to-infrastructure solutions. Furthermore, domestic materials, parts, and equipment companies demonstrated their advanced manufacturing technologies, underpinning the entire semiconductor production process. Running through this Friday, the show brings together 280 global semiconductor manufacturing and equipment companies exhibiting across 700 booths and is expected to attract more than 60,000 industry professionals. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News.
A design event in its 12th year is transforming Seoul's Dongdaemun Plaza into a hub of creativity, offering visitors and fans of design the chance to experience how design connects daily life with art and innovation. Our Pyongyang Young has more.
At one of Seoul's most iconic landmarks, creativity fills every corner. From experimental furniture to pop-up markets and AI-themed conferences, Seoul Design Week 2025 at Dongdaemun Design Plaza is where the city's design spirit comes alive. The festival brings together exhibitions, talks, and visitor-driven programs under the theme Design, Designer, Design Life. The week-long event, held until October 26, explores how design can be found in every aspect of life.
Seoul is known as one of the world's trendiest cities. We are establishing ourselves as category creators, pioneers who set new trends. Just as K-pop became its own global genre, I hope Seoul's design will emerge as a genre of its own.
That vision is reflected across the week's programs, where design is not only displayed, but lived.
This is Seating Seoul, where 100 designers have reimagined the simple chair. The exhibition suggests that chairs can reflect our bodies, lifestyles, and even our society.
At the visitor-favorite design fair, Seoul Design Week features popular lifestyle brands like Finca and 60 Seconds, while the design conference gathers creators and scholars to discuss AI, sustainability, and the future of aesthetics. For emerging designers, the event also offers a chance to collaborate with major companies, giving those with limited funding the opportunity to bring their creative ideas to life. That's what the Young Designers Special Exhibition is all about. The design fair is also a space for introspection.
I think this fair isn't just about showing our products to other people. It's about reflecting on how we see and interpret the world as designers.
Beyond form and function, Seoul Design Week places people at the center of creativity.
This year's Seoul Design Week focuses on design embedded in daily life, spotlighting both the creators and the consumers who appreciate with a designer's mindset.
From chairs that tell human stories to conferences that envision the future of creativity, Seoul Design Week 2025 shows that design is a living language of how Koreans express their culture to the world. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
The early winter cold has receded. The air became warmer in the afternoon and gradually recovered to the average temperature for this time of year. Chilly mornings followed by cool afternoons, which are typical for the season, will continue until the weekend. The sky is mostly cloudy, but there is still rain forecast on the East Coast. Rain will continue on and off until Saturday. In addition, the wind is still strong along the coast. The waves will also be very high due to the wind. Please take extra precautions. Tomorrow morning, temperatures will start off in the double digits everywhere, with Seoul, Daegu, and Gyeongju at 12 degrees. Daily highs will get up to 19 degrees in Seoul and Gyeongju, 20 degrees in Daejeon and Daegu. After the weekend, it will get cold again starting from next week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.